Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly and I am continuing on today with our Disney series. We've kind of been doing what we call the Disney Fundamentals or the Disney 101, and we've done 2 videos already, so this is the 3rd in the series. The other 2, if you've missed them, be sure and check those out. It was kind of answering the why Disney questions. Why do we go to Disney? Why do we love Disney? And then the second video was how to do Disney, and kind of dealt with more of the planning and the logistics of making a family vacation happen in Disney World. Today's topic is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be so much answering 5 questions, it's going to be giving 5 tips. And the theme today is for Disney with toddlers. So to be completely honest with you, I love Disney. I've mentioned that before. I feel like I'm kind of a Disney expert. I do so much of my own research and I've been going since I was a young kid. But when we started having kids of our own, I kind of got thrown for a loop and was unprepared for how different it would be with kiddos. So I started to kind of research, some popular vloggers and Disney accounts, and to be honest, I didn't find a lot of good information about, Disney with kids. Some of my favorites favorite Disney vloggers didn't have children at the time. Now, a couple of them have recently had small children, so they've got babies, and I'll be so curious to see how, when the parks reopen, how they end up tackling Disney with babies, because I know from experience that it's difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and share a few things that we have learned. We've traveled now 3 different times with our kiddos. Everywhere from a 5-month-old baby all the way up to our son, when the oldest he was when we last went was 2.5. So we've kind of got the baby and the toddler tips for you today. And the first one, I'll just go ahead and jump in. My top tip for you if you are traveling to the Disney parks with babies and toddlers is to take advantage of the baby care center. Now, some folks are aware that this place exists, and some have just kind of passed it in as they walk by and have noticed it, but are not, have not taken the time to go in. So let me tell you quickly what is in the baby center. It's usually a pretty large space, and there's several rooms. There's generally a small kitchen where you can reheat bottles, baby food, make formula. They have some type of water cooler that gives you hot water, or a bottle warmer. There's a sink to do dishes. They often have a microwave, or and then they also have, I'm just going to call it like a little tiny mini mart, where they have baby items for sale. So wipes, diapers, baby food, formula, bottles, sippy cups, passies, even some medications, like diaper cream, topical ointments, baby oil gels for teething, all sorts of, baby related things you can think of. They will have them there. I'm not going to tell you that the prices are very good, but they're certainly not really gouging you either. So, don't panic if you forgot to bring something and it didn't get put in the diaper bag. Take a peek into the, the baby care center. They are available at all 4 parks. So Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom. There's one in each location, clearly marked generally by a restroom and, somewhat near the entrance of the park. Besides the kitchen room and the little store, there's also usually a family room with a TV going and little chairs for kids and for dad to wait, while mom and baby are generally in the nursing mother's room. Now, I was an exclusive pumper, so I was even more panicked because obviously you can nurse anywhere, legally allowed to do that, and Disney does not at all, restrict you or frown on you for nursing in a public space. But pumping is a little different, so I had to find a private spot both times we were in the parks with my young babies. And the baby care centers were essential for me because I had to have an outlet, I had to have some privacy, and I needed to pump regularly every 3 hours. So I literally could not have done the Disney parks without the baby care centers. I spent a lot of time in these centers. They do have a semi-private room at least available. 2 of the parks, Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom, actually have completely private rooms where you can lock the door and be completely isolated. The other two are just semi-private, where only nursing moms and babies are allowed in, and they keep the lights pretty dim. There's one additional room typically, and that's a baby changing room. It has several baby changing tables set up, and they sanitize in between each use. So, you know, if you don't want to change your baby in a restroom, you can go to the baby care center and have a clean changing area with lots of changing tables to choose from. Sometimes the baby changing center at a normal bathroom can kind of get a line. So if that's the case, just head to the baby care center. So please take advantage of those. If I had not had children, I wouldn't really know about it, and I would have been quite intimidated not knowing where to pump in the park. And if you are a little more private of a person and you want a private place or a quiet place to breastfeed, I highly recommend it. They have AC. Like I said, there's a little TV room for the older kiddos and dad to sit and relax. And then, you know, a place for mom to be, you know, semi-private. And the babies often fall asleep there while nursing, I noticed, and so then you also get like a little mini nap out of it too. So check out the baby care centers for sure. The second tip I will give you is do bring a little swimsuit and swim diapers with you when you go to the parks and Disney Springs, because most of them have a splash pad area, a place for kids to kind of cool down and get wet. And there's nothing worse than your little toddler seeing that and desperately wanting to go in, but you're like dragging them away because you didn't bring an extra change of clothes or proper swim attire. So now that we have started to see these splash areas, Disney Springs has a great one. Obviously Magic Kingdom has another wonderful one right there at the new Fantasyland, at the kind of storybook circus area. So go ahead and just embrace that. That will kill some time. That will cool them off. It's typically very hot in Florida. And so if you have the right gear and you're prepared, it should be an added, you know, bonus, an added fun element for the kids. So go ahead and pack in a little Ziploc bag or something, a change of clothes or little swim trunks or swimsuit and a swim diaper, and then a little packable foldable towel, and you will be prepared in case that comes up and it's just a super hot day and the kids are melting down. It's a great place for them to get out of the stroller, burn some energy, move around, cool down, and then, you know, while one of you keep an eye on the kids, the other one can go do a ride that maybe only mom and dad would be tall enough to ride on, or get a snack or get a beverage, and everybody can sit in the shade and rest a little bit. So splash pads are there. Make sure you have the right gear for them, and then don't be afraid to take advantage of them. It can be a great kind of midday break. My third tip for you is that there are play areas throughout the parks. When I was a kid, I remember going to Hollywood Studios. Of course, it was MGM at the time, and they had the Honey, I Shrunk the Kid playground, and that's kind of the only one. Well, that's not true. Toontown also had like a little petting zoo and a playground. I remember those areas. But as an adult, I had completely forgotten about them, and certainly those iconic ones are long gone in the parks. But when we brought our son for the first time, we started noticing that there were these little play areas. And I'll just give you a couple off the top of my head. There's a small play area in front of the Winnie the Pooh ride, and there's some interactive elements. It's all Winnie the Pooh themed, and that one's a cute one. There is a Splash Mountain, tiny little play area with a little slide and that kind of soft, foamy floor, so kids, you know, don't hurt themselves crawling around. I think we actually may have a picture or two of that we'll have to put in there for you, of my son enjoying that. And then Dumbo, the Dumbo ride is kind of, if you use the Fast Pass system and only ever ride using a Fast Pass, you may have never noticed it, but inside they have an air-conditioned playground, and it's quite large, and you can use that and not even really be intending to go to the Dumbo ride. So if your kids really need a break from getting out of the stroller and you want to get out of the heat and find some AC, I highly recommend going over there to the playground and asking to get in. Now, if it is busy and full, they'll give you some like a pager, almost like if you were going to a restaurant, and then the pager will go off when your turn to go ride the ride, so you can play while you wait in line. So it's really great. But if you don't intend to go on the ride, you can tell them that as well, and then you can really just hang out in there. The lighting is terrible for pictures. It's dim in there, so it's also a good place for you to go with the little one to nap while big brother or big sister plays and burns some energy. There is a wonderful playground at the Animal Kingdom Park. It's called the Boneyard, and it's in Dino Land, and it's got lots of slides. It's certainly not like a toddler play space, though toddlers are allowed. It has got a lot of activities even for elementary age kiddos. So some high parts and climbing parts and big slides. But the Boneyard is quite fun and another good place. No AC, but they do have misters in there, and sometimes Pluto, because the Boneyard is kind of like his area. Sometimes Pluto, the character, shows up and goes in there to play with the kids, and so it can be a really great spontaneous photo opportunity. So check out the play areas. I think during the festivals at Epcot, they have a good play area that they kind of retool to fit the theme. So whether it's Flower and Garden or Food and Wine, there's usually some type of playground at Epcot during the festivals. And of course, Epcot is famous for on the World Showcase at each of the countries to have like a little KidCot station, which is some type of craft or learning activity centered specifically around that country. So whether you're in Mexico, you might have a Mexico specific craft for the kids to do. And there's also a little pass book that you can get that has, as they go to each KidCot location, I think they get a special sticker to put in their passport. So there are some fun interactive things to do with little ones throughout the parks. The playgrounds, you know, are the ones that kind of come top of mind, because sometimes it's so crowded, it's hard to get your little one out of the stroller, and you basically go from line to another line to stroller to another line, and so it can be a little tedious for them to be in the stroller all day. So check out those play areas. Sometimes they are not very well marked on the map, but you can ask any cast member, you know, if there are any play areas nearby or where they would recommend for your little ones, and they would be super, super happy to help you. Everyone has their own tips. When we were there the first time with our son, someone said, oh, you've got to take your little one to Tom Sawyer Island for nap time because it's very shaded and it's very quiet. And so, you know, you're allowed to bring your stroller, and so you get over to Tom Sawyer Island, find a quiet park bench under the shade trees with no one around, and it's like you can hardly believe you're in a giant crowded amusement park like the Magic Kingdom, because you have all this solitude and space, and you can recline the stroller and little one can just take a good nap. So there are little hideaways, little tricks and tips to get away and let your kids stretch or take a nap or get some AC. So don't be afraid to ask for those, and certainly, you know, try to plan some time in your day to include those for your little ones. They will thank you for it. Fourth tip is not a secret. It is just that kids 2 and under are free. So take advantage of it. When we went last with our 2-year-old, he was 2.5, he had a blast. I mean, he could go on so many rides, all the character meet and greets, the parades. He loved it, and he was absolutely free. So was baby sister, but she was very uninteractive. But a two-year-old can get very, very interactive and yet still be free to get in. So I would just say, you know, don't be intimidated to take your little one. Take advantage of that, you know, year while they're still free to plan a trip. It can be very expensive. Once they turn 3, they're practically paying the same price as an adult. It is like a $10 or $15 difference, and they're only children until age 9. So, and then from 9 they're adults. So you don't really get much of a break from Disney. But the fact that 2-year-olds and under are still free is really a great savings, and something you should consider when you're planning your trip. In addition to that, they don't need to have any type of dining plan. The dining plan requires everyone to have a dining plan under their name, as long as they are over the age of 2. What that means is that, you know, little Johnny, who's 3 years old, is going to need to have a Disney dining reservation under his name as well, and that can be quite pricey. Again, the price difference between adults and children is not very much, and obviously a 3-year-old is not eating the same amount as a 8-year-old, but they're paying the same price. So the 2-year-old doesn't need to have the dining plan, and the 2-year-old does not need a park ticket. So it's something to think about when you're planning your trip, because it can be quite a bit of savings. So yeah, that's a tip. We didn't really think about it, but this year we got annual park passes, and Vivian is still 2. She just turned 2 a couple weeks ago. So we've planned several trips this next calendar year because she won't need a park ticket. So we'll be able, my husband and I have an annual pass, and our son now has an annual pass, but Vivian is in that sweet spot where she is still free, and we are going to take advantage of it. The final tip I will tell you is just kind of a common sense tip, and it's just to set a reasonable schedule and have reasonable expectations for yourself and for your family. This one should kind of be a no-brainer, but every single time, myself included, you start planning a Disney trip, you get so excited and you set all these expectations, and you build up these long days with lots of new activities, lots of character meet and greets, the parade, you want to try to make it to fireworks, you want to try to do all the rides. And I'll just caution you that it may not be reasonable. Your expectations may be too high, and you're just setting yourself up for frustration. And honestly, that frustration and, kind of pressure and stress will bleed over to the kids, and they will be melting down as well. It's going to be hot. It's going to be crowded. It's going to be a different day for them than their normal routine. So just try to as much as difficult as it is, try to set realistic expectations. My rule is usually 5 or so attractions, and then we try to do a couple fun things like a character meet and greet to mix it up. My husband and I like to have a sit down meal and get out of the heat and cool down. We always try to find a quiet, secluded spot for the kids to take a little midday nap. We recline the stroller, let them rest if we can. If they fall asleep while we're walking around, even if we have a ride reservation, we try not to wake them up. We try to let them rest because we know it's a lot of activity. They're being very stimulated. Anytime they can get a couple minutes of shut-eye is probably going to be in everyone's favor. The other thing I will say is bring the right gear. You do need a stroller even if your kiddos are getting older. I see so many people, oh, my kiddo doesn't need a stroller. If adults are walking miles a day in the park, your 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and probably 5-year-old will need a stroller. That is a ton of walking for little legs. So just consider that. Bring the right gear. They do have strollers for rent, but they are not very comfortable. They're the hard molded plastic. There will be no way to recline the seat. There will be no way to kind of like cozy up and get comfy. So we always bring our own stroller. We have a double stroller. It's a Zoe. It does fit in the Disney's new guidelines for no oversized strollers. And I will link that below because I would highly recommend it. It folds up pretty compact, but it also lets the kids recline. It has wonderful sunshades that come all the way down. It has vents. Bring a little fan to clip on the stroller because the Florida days are very, very hot. So yeah, have the right gear, have the right expectations, and then go ahead, mom and dad, and give yourself permission to just really enjoy it. Soak it in, watch their faces, buy the expensive Disney balloon. It's worth the $12. It lasts forever. It will make their little kid's day. And then go ahead and plan something special. If they're little and you've taken the time and energy to take them to Disney World, schedule that meet and greet with their favorite character. Go ahead and call up the barber shop and get them their first haircut. I don't think anyone that goes out of their way to make these memories with their little one will regret it. They have some opportunities for just some incredible moments. I mentioned before, we did get our son's first haircut there, and I loved it. Hopefully we'll put a couple pictures in there for you to see another couple shots of it because my husband did not stop taking pictures for the whole 20 minutes. It was great. And he also loved his Disney balloon. So these are some things that, sure you could do without, sure it's not necessary, but you're already there and you may you may never be there again, certainly probably at that age again with those particular kiddos. So you might as well just embrace it. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be different. You may not get as many rides done, but you can still make some fantastic memories. So those are my top 5 tips for traveling to Disney World with kiddos. I hope you enjoyed that. If there are any additional questions you have with babies and toddlers, anything revolving the baby care center or strategies on what rides, I will be continuing this Disney series, so I can answer those questions in future videos. So leave any questions or comments below, and be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. I am trying to put out content a couple times a week, so I want you to be able to get a notification when those videos come up so you can watch them. So thanks for spending some time with me today, and we will talk soon. Bye-bye.